Hello, and welcome back to another enlightening episode of Awakened Minds. Here, we'll delve into the depths of the human experience, transversing the realms of science, spirituality, psychology, and metaphysics. I'm your host, Tiffany, and together, let's embark on a journey of discovery and introspection. Hello, and welcome to another episode of Awakened Minds. Today, I have the beautiful guest speaker, Carina Talla. She's a healing coach and inner child healing expert. Welcome, Carina, and please jump in and share with listeners of what you do and what your expertise are.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited to be here and share this space with you tonight. So, as you said, I'm a healing coach and inner child healing expert. So, my main purpose and role in the world is to help women heal their inner child and have more self-love in their life. But the way that I do that is by helping women learn how to manage their emotions a bit better and take control of their life through their mental health and their well-being. So inner child is the technique underneath, but what the real problems that we're helping with, or I'm helping with, is mental health, anxiety, stress, overwhelm, overthinking, like anything in the mind is my specialty.
Oh, that's beautiful. So for anybody who might not know what inner child healing is, could you touch base a little bit on what that means and what that concept is?
Yeah, absolutely. So inner child healing is a technique that allows us to process any blocks that we are currently facing as adults, whether that's stress, anxiety, self-doubt, overwhelm, and to really understand that those blocks are nothing actually to do with the present moment, but everything to do with our childhood development as we are going through so many developmental stages from the ages of 0 to 7, also being generous, 0, to 18 years old. So anything we encounter during those years that we hear, that we absorb information from our parents, peers, education, culture, religion, society, all of these conditionings are affecting the way that we see ourselves and see the world, and also the way that we think about ourselves, right? Our self-esteem or self-worth. And this is imprinted into our mind or our subconscious mind into our adulthood. So how I like to really explain the inner child is understanding it from more of that neuroscience perspective, which I know is one of your areas of field as well. So let's get stuck into it, right? So for listeners that may need a refresh or a recap in understanding this is that in simple terms, obviously we have those two parts of our mind. We have the upstairs part of our mind. I imagine like an upstairs part of the house, the conscious mind, and then the downstairs part of your mind, the subconscious mind. So the subconscious mind controls 95% of our daily cognitive function. So our emotional reactions, our triggers and responses, our emotional blueprints too, our belief systems and our thoughts are influenced by what's going on in there. So as we know, neuroscience backs that the subconscious mind is formed by the age of 7 years old. So we can be, 80 years old with the same limiting beliefs that we picked up from our parents during our childhood. So with inner child work, we're really saying, okay, what in your life is being created from those subconscious beliefs or blocks or limitations that we really need to change? So you are navigating the world not from this kind of wounded little inner child that has self-doubt or fear, but the updated version of you, like the woman you are, the strong, powerful woman that's capable, that doesn't have that self-doubt anymore. So I like to think as those blocks in your subconscious mind as outdated software on your iPhone, for example. Okay, it's like we haven't updated the software since like 1985 or whatever year, and we have to really look at it. So I take my clients through a 12-step methodology of inner child healing to start working through that. And what makes my method and approach to inner child healing slightly different to what's available is that I have formed my own unique methodology that approaches it from a holistic lens. So I have my original trainings in ayurvedic medicine. I was living in India in the jungle studying mind, body, spirit sciences. So I really understand human healing from not just a psychoanalysis level, but from an emotional level, a spiritual level. And I found with the traditional inner child healing models, so much was missing. I was like, there is so much missing here. You cannot actually heal or help a person activate their own healing with just the traditional inner child healing model alone. And I created this methodology as a result of my own 10-year healing journey, as a result of my trainings and professionalism for the past few years, and put this method together that really encompasses mind, body, spirit through those kind of 12 steps. That means like we're not missing a piece, right? It's like, right, that introductory level to really get things covered. So healing your inner child from my lens and the way that I teach it is a holistic approach to healing your well-being and that younger part of you, because we all have it. You know, every single woman has a little girl within us that needs love, that needs care. And also every single man, you know, they have a little boy too that has fears and worries and troubles from the past that might be affecting how they show up today as well. So it's such a powerful method, not just for an individual's healing, but healing your relationships with your family, with your partner, the way you show up with your work. It's like everything really comes down to that little part of us that just needs some extra love. So that is my kind of unique approach to approaching the inner child.
That is really beautiful. I love how you brought in that mind, body, spirit element, because a lot of times, as we're looking at mind and mental work, it's just focused on the mental side of things. And there's this huge gap. And so I'm really hearing like you're addressing that gap. You're bringing in all these different elements and techniques. And with sharing with the audience, I guess, are you open to like sharing one or two of those steps of your 12-step process?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll share a couple that will address, the holistic aspect. So actually, maybe I'll share three. Let's do one from the body, let's do one from the mind, let's do one from the spirit, so it makes sense out of the 12 steps, okay? So for example, the step number one of my method is safety and nervous system regulation. So before we even start looking what's going on in the mind, what's going on in the emotions, it is our number one priority to learn how to establish safety within our own body and with our own nervous system. So this nervous system is that survival piece within you that controls how safe or unsafe you feel, or in more generic terms, how either relaxed or stressed you feel, basically. So when your nervous system is regulated, you will feel calm. Your thoughts will feel calm, your body will feel relaxed, and you'll feel that kind of general sense of peace, like sayonara, and you just feel good and trusting of life, right? So it's kind of healing goals to be in this regulated state, because when we are dysregulated in our body and nervous system, this is what creates stress responses, overthinking, worrying, insomnia, IBS, gut issues. Our body just stresses out, it's in that stress response mode. So we cannot actually heal unless our body is regulated. So we need to start taking the steps to just start creating a sense of safety and anchoring our bodies into that more of a homecoming experience, right? If we go straight into a therapy session without nervous system regulation, we actually are creating a sense of re-traumatization to the body and the mind. So there's a lot of pieces missing. So that first step is so important. So a little tool, for example, which is just a really lighthearted, fun one that I love to share with my clients, is your nervous system loves physical touch. So to feel calm and soothed, skin to skin contact is one of the most wonderful ways to create a sense of safety. So there's something called a self-love hug that I teach my clients. So you literally wrap your own arms around yourself like you're hugging someone you love, and you hold that hug. You can practice it with me now if you want. Everyone listening, you can practice. So you literally hug yourself and you kind of stroke your arm, you rock side to side, you nuzzle your cheek into your shoulder. And I actually get my clients to hold themselves in that position for up to 5 minutes.
Wow.
So it's actually a long time. But when you sink into that safety and you have that lovely touch, it is so, so beautiful and healing. And this technique itself is actually taught to women and children in war zones to create an established safety within their body. So this is like a complex PTSD trauma technique that is taught in therapy that I've kind of taken it, kind of modernize it a little bit and just put that kind of more nourishing name to it. So it feels like a fun thing that you can think of, like, oh, actually, I'm going to give myself a self-love hug today and give that safety. So that's a little tool for that one. When it comes to the mind piece, so one of the steps, step number 6, is all about self-regulation in the mind piece. So something I love to teach my clients how to do is how to regulate their thought patterns and belief systems. So we think 60,000 thoughts a day, right? And it's proven that, 80% of them were the same as yesterday and the day before. So we are just circulating our minds pretty much all day long. But also as well, we are really hardwired to have a negative bias in our mind. And it's just because our mind is our survival part of us that its main job is to keep us alive, right? So if we were only looking at the floaty, fluffy things all day long, we wouldn't be very good at surviving and probably wouldn't have evolved as a species as far as we have. So our mind is like, okay, what could go wrong? Is that okay? Am I safe? What's the worst case scenario if that could happen? So the only problem is that if we get stuck in that survival-based thinking, we're not giving ourselves a chance to tap into our higher thinking of curiosity and imagination and creativity. We get stuck in that kind of lower part of our mind. So really teach my clients how to transform their thoughts and their belief systems that are blocking them. So a very, very simple tool can be just notice your thought patterns more and notice when your thoughts that you're thinking are either creating anxiety, fear, guilt or shame, and just notice, because you'll feel that feeling and emotion in your body. You'll feel uneasy, you'll feel on edge, you'll have that kind of sensation, and just become really curious. Okay, what triggered me to start thinking like that? Was it because my to-do list is really, really full and I'm feeling overwhelmed? Or did you see something and it triggered you? Just get curious. And my invitation to you is then to ask yourself, okay, how can I reframe this negative thought to be an empowered version of it, right? How can I switch it? Because our thinking really affects our physical health, our emotional health. So say if you saw something and you start having a thought of, oh my God, I'm not doing very well, I'm not good enough, right? You can just challenge it and observe it. Right? Don't feed the story. Just, okay, a healthy level of detachment to our thoughts is really healthy. And so, okay, do I want to believe this thought? You can keep it if you want, if you want to keep the negative thought, you can, but also you don't have to. And you can ask yourself, okay, how can I change it? And you might reframe that to, you know what? I'm actually doing really well. And I am good enough. And I'm proud of myself today. And I've given it all I've got. And tomorrow's a new day. Just notice how much nicer that feels to say to ourselves, right? You feel it in your body instead of being, you're doing such a bad job, you're rubbish, all the things. It's like, oh my goodness, it feels so good. And as we shift those swirling thoughts in our mind, we shift our energy and our vibration essentially, and it feels a lot better. So notice those sneaky little thoughts, make sure you shift them over. And I would say the third kind of piece of advice or tool I can give from the spirit section is step number 12 is connect to your highest self. So this is such an important part of my healing and my own journey. I literally have the word higher self tattooed on my arm. It's just such a powerful part of the experience. I feel, we go through healing from the body first, and then we explore the mind. But I do believe there comes to a certain point in one's healing journey where the doors to the spiritual world open, if they're meant to, right? I don't think it's for everyone. I think there is a part where a lot of people do go through that spiritual awakening. And what that basically means is you just start to question your self and purpose more, right? You're not just here to just, live a life that you dislike and work a job that you hate. It's like, okay, maybe I do have a purpose. Maybe I'm here for something bigger. Maybe I have a mission. And also maybe there is a part of me, a spiritual part, right? It's not just my thinking mind, not just my ego, but this spiritual part of me that when I connect to that, it brings a sense of fulfillment and aliveness. And connecting to your higher self is that last step, because it's like, okay, can we connect to that spiritual aspect? So in there, I have this beautiful guided meditation to connect to your higher self and things like journal prompts. So I think the most simple way to really understand when you're connected to your higher self or your soul self is honestly just ask yourself, what are you the happiest when you're doing it? Like, what is the thing that brings you so much joy? It's effortless, it's flowing, it's easy. That is the only tip you need to know if you are in your higher self or not. Because we are spiritual beings, I believe, in a physical human suit, in this human body, and we came here for a human experience. So the soul inside us will give us a light bulb cue and these breadcrumbs of like, right, I came to planet Earth to discover these things. I'm going to let you know when you're on the right path because it's going to feel good or I'm going to feel excited. And it's like these little breadcrumbs we keep following. So those kind of mind, body, spirit habit gives a bit of some tools and things that people can take away to really just start, I think, kind of trying to simplify a little bit as well, that healing doesn't need to be so complicated. It's kind of like, okay, safety, awareness, find
Mhm.
your joy, a bit more love and kindness. But with those alone, you can radically shift things, in a really amazing way. So yeah, I think those things are good to share.
That is such a great and important point to make, is that the healing journey doesn't have to be this complicated process. We can shift and transform and change so many different areas of our life. It just takes, like, you're sharing this conscious awareness of each of those dynamics and really honing in and tuning into ourselves. And so I love each of those. Those are all three such important elements. And I could see how that would really shift people, even one of them, and how important that is to just change somebody. For example, mindset shifting, being aware of that thoughts, the disattachment piece, being mindfully aware. And I love how you pointed out too, like, you don't have to believe everything we're thinking. We have so many thoughts that keep coming in and occurring, and we don't have to follow with them. We can sit there and mindfully choose which ones we want to feed.
Yeah, absolutely. This is the thing. We get so attached to the stories in our mind, and we think it's like just our personality, but it's honestly not. It's like you can change those things. And I think as well, it's so important to change the language we have around things like thoughts and mindset. Like I see so much stuff online, even kind of therapeutic, resources and online, establishments that say, you can't control your thoughts, but you can just manage them. I'm like, no, no, no. You can control your thoughts. It's just reframing them. That is controlling your thoughts. That's all it is. It's literally not a big deal. Like it actually isn't a big deal. And it's not as complicated as we've been made to believe. You can control it. We just need the awareness, and we need those really helpful tools to know how to do it. And like anything, once you get the hang of it, it actually becomes really automatic. So the first time you're learning to shift your thoughts, it can feel a bit clunky, a little bit like, oh, like you're having to remember to do it and back and forth. But that's like anything, right? When you were learning to walk as a baby, you didn't give up once because you fell down once. And, you're like, that's it. I'm not going to bother ever learning to walk again because I couldn't do it once. It's like when you were learning to ride a bike, we all have to learn things. And as adults, I think it's really important to have an open mind to learning,
Mhm.
to be curious learners, to say, hey, I'm willing to try something new. I'm willing to be a beginner. I'm willing to try and learn amazing life-changing tools so I can create a better life, right?
Mhm.
Because if you're not fully 100% satisfied with where you are in life right now, for whatever reason, that is a sign that something needs to change. And that most likely needs to start in your mental well-being. So yeah, I think conscious awareness is something we all need, and that in itself is a skill as well,
Mhm.
right? We have been so conditioned to live unconsciously, to not question, to not think, to not be free agents in the world. But I think so many of us are waking up to like, no, 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 we deserve a sense of freedom and
Yeah.
autonomy in our mental well-being.
Mhm.
And so much of that has actually been taken away for so many different reasons. And we don't actually realize it. So we're kind of like going through a bit of a revolution. Like we're how we really start to make change is in our minds, because only then from that inward self-discovery can we then share that with others and then begin to make big changes that are needed. So yeah, it all comes down to just being a little bit more conscious, I think, truly. What's your thoughts on that?
I completely resonate with that, and I completely agree. And to that point, where we live in a society where there's a lot of distraction and kind of numbing, that third tool of yours is so profound. Our bodies send so many signals and messages that are not. It's not just our mind, but our soul, our all these elements, they connect, and we get these intuitive messages or nudges or feelings and sensations, and listening to those, rather than suppressing or ignoring it. A lot of times in our society, things that are labeled bad or negative emotions, where unfortunately, because it's got that stigma around it that it's bad or negative, that we need to ignore it or suppress or get rid of it, when sometimes it's a message. It's telling us something, like you mentioned, like we're off track in some way, or something needs a little bit more attention or healing or awareness. And so, yeah, completely, 100%. Those, it makes so much sense, bringing in that So with, I guess, each of these techniques and stuff, might somebody know their inner child needs a little bit of healing?
Yeah, brilliant question. So there are some good signs that we can tell. So I'll list just a few kind of bullet point list them for you. And then those that are listening at home can kind of see if they resonate or not. So I would say the first key ones are things such as over worrying or overthinking,
Mm.
right? This is really common signs. They're actually quite normalized. We're just like, I'm just a warrior. I just overthink about everything, or thinking about those big worst case scenarios, or instead of looking what could go right, only what could go wrong is a really key sign. There's an inner child in there that is needing some love and attention. Other things can be things such as comparison,
Mm.
imposter syndrome, self-doubt, not feeling good enough, right? The moment that you find yourself, on social media, down that rabbit hole,
Yeah.
comparing yourself to like someone's auntie in another country with like some random person, it's like that is literally that little inner wounded child trying to find some sort of this comfort of like, am I good enough? And now I found someone I don't feel good enough to, and now I'm going to kind of feed that pain of not feeling good enough. So really catch yourself and how you operate with things like social media is a really powerful time to actually see if you have a wounded inner child in there. Other things as well, struggling to use your voice, communicate your needs, ask for help, set boundaries. So anything around your voice and vocal expression and like genuinely being honest, maybe about your feelings, how you feel, again, having your needs met, whether that's your friends, your partner, your family. If there's that sense of struggling to communicate, there's definitely a little inner child in there that doesn't feel safe to.
Mm.
Maybe it wasn't safe to in the past, right? Maybe they got shut down for expressing their emotions and now they feel like they have to hide everything inside. Those are good indicators as well. And a really big one that comes up quite a lot is the good old sneaky self-sabotage that can happen in our lives, either when things are going really, really well and we're like, oh no, I'm now afraid, or self-sabotage could be even things like, okay, just not drinking enough water, right? Forgetting to meet your basic needs, like eating your meals on time, forgetting to hydrate, going to bed really late, waking up late, just having a routine, feeling a little bit messy and all over the place can be a sign that there's an inner child in there that needs some reparenting as well. So it's going to be the main things to look for is how your daily routine and habits align. Does your day feel like it feels secure and safe, or does it feel chaotic and messy? Like the minute you wake up in the morning, you're filled with anxiety and worrying about the day ahead, That can often come from when you're younger and your parents or mum walks straight in your bed, it's like, right, time to get up, and the curtains are blown up. It's like you've never even had that secure start to the day, and we continue these patterns. So definitely look out for that and look and be more aware of your thought patterns and your feelings. They will really tell you what part of your inner child is activated. So I say anything that comes from a place of fear, worry, or doubt is coming from your inner child, because when we heal it, as adults, we're actually able to get to a place of what is known as emotional and trigger neutrality, where you're actually able to operate your day-to-day life, not being triggered by everything around you, not being that constant ticking time bomb. And that neutrality piece is that even if challenges happen, which they do, and they're always going to because it's just life, is they don't feel this like big, overwhelming, tsunami of how am I going to do this and doubt and fear. It's like, okay, neutrality just holds that safe space and says, take a minute, I breathe, let's find a way to create some amazing solutions. Let's find some tools. If I need support, I'll get support. It's like we deal with it from this adult lens, as opposed to the inner child within us that kind of feels like they're having a bit of a breakdown and like overwhelmed. Because of course, it's just a child. Of course, the adult world feels so scary to that part of us. So we have to heal those parts. Otherwise, they're still activated. And we are experiencing life through that little 6-year-old or through that 14-year-old because they're not healed yet. So it keeps coming to the forefront of our psyche and our being. When we start clearing out those emotions from the body, creating that neutrality, it is a really, really powerful place to be in, because you're not kind of being rocked all the time, but it's like, okay, you can just take a moment before reacting to the world, and you'll really know you're in a reparenting place there as well.
That's such a great analogy. When we have like you mentioned, life happens. When we have a situation maybe outside of our control, noticing the intensity of that, that makes so much sense. If somebody has some inner child healing that needs that life event that's happening in the here and now is amplified, and it's not necessarily to that extreme. So that's a phenomenal indicator. And thank you for sharing that one.
Yeah, absolutely. I always say if it's hysterical, it's historical, right?
Oh, that's
If it's hysterical,
great.
it's historical. It's not coming from your adult self. And also, as well, coming to that piece, because it is such an important part, is really, question yourself, is the reaction I'm having, does it actually match what is happening right now? Is
Yeah.
this reaction out of proportion in ratio to what is happening?
Mhm.
Right? So let's say, for example, I don't know, you're doing the dishes and you smash a glass, right? A place of emotional neutrality would go, okay, I smashed the glass.
Yeah.
That's literally it. I'm going to clean up, put it in the bin safely, and that's it. There's literally nothing. There's no stories. There's no need for thoughts. There's no need to berate yourself, right? It's literally just an accident. However, a disproportionate, ratio to that, if the inner child is wounded and activated, is you smash the glass and it's like, oh my God, what have I done? I'm so stupid. I'm such an idiot. Oh my God, I'm getting in so much trouble. My partner's going to kill me. You go through all these stories, you're panicking. And because you're panicking, you're like, I don't know how to clean it up. How am I going to clean it up? There's glass everywhere. Can we see the mind just spirals like 1,000 times, a million times an hour? And then because that activation has happened, you may clean it up, but now you're already in that negative loop cycle and you start to break yourself at other things. Oh God, I actually did really bad at work today. Did I say the right thing to my colleague? Oh no, I think I think I'm not doing my job properly. Then you start questioning your life. Then you start questioning the past 10 years. And then before you know it, you're time traveling into all the things you've done wrong, into all your self-judgment, self-criticism, and it gets out of control, right? That is an example of genuinely what happens. And we can stay in thought spirals for days on end, right? When we have a negative thought spiral from something that can be so like simple but isn't to the inner child, we can stay in a negative thought spiral for a minimum of 7 days.
Wow, that's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time because it's like a hurricane with no stop and it keeps going, but it jumps. This is where the monkey mind comes from the Vedic sciences. It's like you think one negative thing about one area of your life and then it jumps to another part. And
Yeah.
then you're doubting and questioning everything and it can swamp you. And this is what basically anxiety is then formed. It can go into depression if it stays any longer.
Mhm.
So understanding your reactions and where they're actually coming from is so important because why that activation could have happened, right? It could have been when you were a child, when you did things wrong and weren't perfect, you got in trouble. So something like smashing a glass as an adult triggers that inner child that thinks, I'm going to get in trouble
Yeah.
if I don't do things well, if I've made a mistake. I need to always be performing, always be perfect, to be loved by my parents. So that pattern and wound is still there, right? There's a belief underneath it is I'm only loved when I'm doing X. So
Yeah.
it goes so deep. So be so aware of how you react to things. Even, getting road rage when you're driving, like question how you respond, right? If you're like feel really impatient in queues, it's like our everyday Monday things that we can really see if our inner child is agitated and feeling constrained or trapped because they need love and healing. And then when you actually get to start healing them, it's the most wonderful thing. Like they bring you now the opposite of the trauma and the pain or,
Mhm.
mental suffering, negative thoughts, and they bring all the creativity, all the magic, all the play. And it's like this wonderful spark like comes back within like your heart and in your life. So becoming aware is not just for awareness itself, it's awareness so you can heal, so you can step into that best version of you that's no longer being controlled by that wounded inner child that honestly just is trying to get your attention because it wants to heal,
Mhm.
not trying to get your attention just for no reason. That part of you wants to feel loved, wants to feel safe. Just think of it. It's just like any children. No children is bad. No
Mhm.
children are naughty. I don't believe that. I believe children, when they're acting up, it's because they haven't got their emotional needs met. And it's the same for us as adults. Those needs never disappeared. They stayed with us. So learning how to meet them and love them is such a like profound, life-changing gift that we all deserve to have in our lives. I do believe that.
Yeah, I agree. And I love how your, analogy that's kind of coming to mind is like the world, outside world's a mirror, like looking at, these external situations, and you're talking about getting triggered and noticing the responses, but like, where are those getting triggered and how and why, and using that as a reflective space. So that's just so beautiful to, as an analogy of, looking at, again, checking in with ourselves and tuning in and noticing and being the observer and honing in and watching our responses of just, saying of ourselves.
Yes, exactly. I do believe that, and I believe so deeply that the world is our mirror, whether it's the relationships we have, the conversations we have, experiences that come into our life, the good and the bad. Unfortunately, it'd be great if it was only the positive stuff, but also there's negative things too. But negative, just I don't like that word, but just let's say things on the other spectrum that are here to teach us, as opposed to the word negative, but just those soul lessons that come in. And I think what's important, because sometimes it can feel maybe just a little bit overwhelming to think, oh my God, I now have to start being more aware of my behavior and how can I do this? Is this too much effort? We kind of want things quick, easy, arrived yesterday, instant gratification, primed and sorted, by the time we wake up. So I think what's really helpful is to write down a list of 10 reasons why you want to heal and improve your life. What are you going to gain? What are the benefits of you going on a healing journey? Right? Say, for example, you're struggling with anxiety. The gain is going to be have a calm mental health, peaceful inner world. Right? Say if you feel really out of control with your emotions, the goal is going to be able to better manage your emotions so you can have better relationships with the people around you without losing your shit all the time. It's like, what is that thing you're doing this for? Is it for your children? Is it for your job? Is it because you want to discover your purpose in the world and really level up? Is it because you want to travel? What are those reasons? Write 10 reasons down. So every time you're having to put in the effort to becoming more conscious of those triggers and really waking up to those mirrors around you, not pointing or blaming fingers on everyone else, but actually taking radical self-responsibility to say, okay, I'm taking responsibility for all the good and the bad in my life so I can start changing it. And come back to your list of those 10 things to keep you motivated on the journey. And it all kind of start to fall into place. And that responsibility piece is all I mean by that is by basically, we can only save and heal ourselves, right? No one is coming to fucking rescue us. Not your coach, not your healer, not your therapist, not your teacher, not your doctor. They are simply guides to help you heal yourself and to help you awaken your own power. So when we say, okay, I'm going to take radical responsibility for every area of my life that I'm not happy with, for every area of my life that I don't feel satisfied with, you put the power back onto you and stop giving it away. And you can start taking action to be like, okay, it's down to me to do this and do what you need to do, whether it's work with a professional, work with someone to guide you. That responsibility piece is so important because if you want to achieve those goals, those 10 things they're in the kind of the distance and the horizon, the main thing that's going to get you there is taking responsibility and consistency. Literally just those two things. Honestly, it's nothing more, I swear. Like you can stay responsible for your actions and your habits every day and then do them every day. You will change your life in no time. Like if you started now, by the end of the year, you would look and feel like a very, very different person from showing up for yourself. And then you have the rest of your life to enjoy that version of you. Like what a gift,
I 100% agree. And that is such a profound statement. A lot of times it's advertised that the solution is outside of us, grab this, do that. And really it is going into that self-empowerment piece. Like we're the masters of our own lives. And like you mentioned, therapists, coaches, guides, like they're the guides. They're the ones that have probably walked the path, know exactly what you're feeling, know what to shift, how to change. But really that piece it's back to choice and looking at where is it that, you really want to change and taking those steps forward. Somebody, the analogy, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make them drink it. So teachers, guides, they're leading the way, but you got to take those steps and initiation points. So I love that you brought that up, because it's just so important to remember that we are powerful beings, and we internally, our intuition, we know the path that we need to take, and to step forward and take those steps for ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I know we're kind of getting a little bit close to time, but through this process, I just want to kind of ask again, and like, what really brought you into this healing technique and area of focus? And I know you specifically like to work with women as well. So what sparked this for you and your personal journey?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love to share. So, what brought me to the healing journey? My healing journey started around 10 years ago. So, I've been on the self-development path for a long decade now, which is kind of wild when I think about it. And it really came to me because I really struggled with my mental health growing up. So, throughout my kind of late childhood, teenage years, I really severely struggled with anxiety, depression, panic attacks, all a whole host of different imbalances. And when I reached my early 20s, I actually lost my physical health completely. I was nearly bedbound for an entire year and could hardly walk across a room without needing help. And this was so devastating for, a girl in her young 20s, when all your friends are out living life and having fun and you are crippled in bed, feeling like, the 90-year-old woman. It was just a scary situation. And I struggled with my mental health for so long and had, been in and out of different doctors' offices and hospital appointments and back and forth, trying to uncover, why was I struggling with my mental health so much? Why is my physical health starting to decline at such a young age? And no one had any answers. I would just get handed a prescription for antidepressants, which actually started from the age of 12. I got given that by my first GP, which was just horrendous and so irresponsible thinking about it. And honestly, I was a lost cause in the medical system. They did not know what to do with me for nearly a decade. And that is just so scary, because you're thinking, wow, if I can't even rely on these so-called experts and professionals and specialists, what am I going to do? You feel like the only person in the universe, like kind of struggling on your own when you're that age. You kind of like think like, oh, no one else is going through this. Obviously, they are, half the world is, but you don't know that at the time. And you also feel so helpless, because these people you're meant to hopefully have some hope and faith in can give you nothing but the opposite. So I reached a really tragic moment where I was like, right, I have to figure out another way. The Western world that I know has no answers and no solutions. And spiritually, divinely guided to holistic healing, that world basically came into my life, and actually started with discovering things like energy healing. Funny enough, I did that before I knew what the inner child was. The spiritual world actually came in first, and then discovering Ayurvedic medicine. So this is when I first ever learned that your mind and body are connected. And this is revolutionary to me, right? I'd never heard this before. And my Ayurvedic doctor made it so clear from our very first session. And she knew just by looking at me, I didn't even tell her my story. She knew, Carina, it's your childhood that's making you sick.
Wow.
And you need to start healing. So she could tell that the trauma that I had been through for many years growing up was actually manifested in my body and caused my body to shut down in my early 20s, because my body reached a maximum point of being able to hold this anymore. So it was Ayurvedic medicine that ignited me deeper into the holistic healing path. And I started to get the help that I really needed. So I started working with a therapist who introduced me to inner child healing and opened my eyes to that world again, which was revolutionary to me because I needed it. So I was my first client, if you like. I was my first guinea pig and, went through the healing process. And honestly, when you have suffered for over 10 years and then you finally find solutions that help you radically transform your life pretty quickly. I don't like putting numbers on things, but when you've suffered for so long and then, within a couple of years, you are a different human being, that ratio is like indescribable. I just was feeling, and still am, so healthy and happy and vibrant, you know, going from not being able to walk across the room to being full of life and energy every day. It's like I will never take my health for granted ever. It's just something I think about every day. So that motivated me so much to then, oh my goodness, I need to share this. I feel like I found this like secret missing link that is definitely not here available in the UK alone anyway. That we is not, you know, in heightened awareness. So I then went on to go into my trainings and studies in all different parts of healing and well-being. So studied in India, you know, training with the incredible healers out there and doctors, and studied inner child therapy and life coaching and mental health, mindfulness. I did all my energy healing facilitations and women's circles facilitations. You know, I just went on this amazing discovery of studying truly from a place of pure passion and joy more than anything, because I was healing myself and learning more. And actually, when I first began my studies, I had no idea I was ever going to be a coach. I was doing it for my personal healing. It was not even on my mind that this was even like a career option, which is so interesting because I was actually studying fashion in my early 20s and was at London College of Fashion. I love design and art and creativity. So I always thought that was going to be my path, right? But then the more I healed and the more my life began to change, it awoke my purpose. And I thought, no, fashion, you can enjoy it as a hobby, but you are here for something so much bigger than like sewing and being on a sewing machine all day long. Like you are here to really help other people and show them that it's possible, but just teach them too. You know, I had this real deep feeling of there are so many women suffering just like I did. And how can I walk around every single day having transformed my life and just keep it a secret? Like that's so weird. Like I have to share this, you know. I couldn't just go throughout the rest of my life without not having told a single soul. It's just so selfish almost. Like I honestly believe if any of us have even just a piece of tiny wisdom that could help someone else, whether it's a friend, whether it's someone you've just met, like I do believe that we need to share and help, you know, each other. So yeah, I then went on a mission to then basically start this up as fully living my purpose and embodying my dharma. And I started that around 4 or 5 years ago professionally. And I've helped like thousands of women already since all around the world, internationally. And I would say I specialize more with women because I am a woman that's walked that path. And I truly can relate and understand to, as women, what we go through, our emotions and feelings and the sensitivities around being a woman and what traumas can come with that. And it's so much so. So women are my speciality and who I help. I know sometimes I do get sent like the kind of husbands of the wives that I work with, they get sent to me, which is amazing. But the healing journey is very different for men, in the way that the information is to be shared and the space holding. Men do actually require, I believe, a different experience that slightly differs in the way. So when I'm working with men, I do have to kind of slightly alter the way I'm teaching or sharing or holding space to suit their needs, because as women and men, we are different. And there is no doubt in that. And our emotional needs do differ. What we need to hear differs. How we feel safe differs.
Yeah.
It really, really does. So yeah, that's the kind of a bit of an explanation around the path of how I got to do what I do today.
That was such an amazing, profound journey. And I appreciate, thank you for sharing that. You know, as we're in this space, you know, a lot of it is things that we've learned on our own path and our own journey. And like you mentioned, like, how can I keep this? I want to share this with the world, like our ability to transform our own lives, you know, and sharing that transformational piece with other people. So that is just like so amazing, profound. And I'm so happy you were able to find that holistic piece that stepped in and was able to transform your life. And it's similar with my journey, you know, that holistic piece was something that came for me as well. And it's just so cool to hear how like the similarities and different things of like that journey and connecting to our spiritual space as well. Of, you know, a lot of times that spiritual piece comes in at a time where it looks like everything is falling apart. And and it's interesting, you know, that like back to self-reflection, looking back on, you know, I never changed that, any of those experiences, because it's brought me, like for my journey here now, so I can share and teach with people as well. So even though it's difficult, and we can look at those challenges, back to that reframing. How do we want to look at stuff? That story, and being the master of our lives, transforming, taking that ownership, change, and shifting it into like you're saying, this fully embodied, empowered woman that you are now, and giving that to other people.
Yeah, absolutely. This is it. I think as well, Women's Empowerment Day today, and here we are gathering, talking about empowering women. I think it's such a blessing. I feel we all deserve this.
Yeah.
And like, no one deserves to be left behind. Like, we all are capable of healing. We are all capable of transforming our lives, no matter where we are, no matter how stuck we feel. We just need each other to get there. We just need to be generous with our love and our support, obviously from a place of, having our boundaries and not overstepping our capacity, but to really see this union between all women, that we all deserve peace. We all want the same things. We want love, we want well-being, we want peace, we want to feel fulfilled in our lives, we want happiness. Humans, underneath our stories, we all want the same thing. And healing can help us have an incredible life and human experience. And, it's not just about the trauma and the difficult parts. Healing is, I believe, so you can start actually living again. Like, the whole point we heal is so we can live amazing lives that we love, is so we could step into that fully embodied highest version of ourselves and do what we came here to do, right? It is so difficult living in a body that is sick. It's so living with a mind that is so anxious and overwhelmed. It just makes things really difficult. And if we can have tools and solutions that help to aid those problems and support us to just navigate life with a little bit more ease, we're just going to enjoy ourselves more. I'm all about fun. There's inner child healing too. We have fun. We have a lot of play. And I think, we should question more, like, how we want to live our lives and what qualities do we want to bring into our lives. Do we want more rest, balance, peace, self-discovery, art, beauty, magic? Like, what is it that you want? And remember, that's what you're doing this for, right? That isn't just a brick wall moment where you're like, right, I'm just stuck on the healing wheel now. That can be a trap too, where people just heal, but don't actually start living. And that is a sad situation, because we're here to enjoy our lives and have amazing experiences and amazing relationships. And yeah, I think that's the real goal of healing, is to live, to just start living again.
Live life.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you so much for coming and joining me today. Before we end, do you have any parting messages for anybody? And finally, how can people find you and reach out to you?
Yes. I would say my core message is just remember that within you, there is a little girl or a little inner child that just really wants love, wants to feel accepted, wants to feel safe and part of the world. So just remember that the way you talk to yourself is talking to that little girl. If you can be a little bit kinder to yourself every day, then you're really going to see amazing shifts in your life. So just be kind to the little inner child within you. And how you can find me is on my Instagram is at Carina Talla. So DM me, start a conversation. I'd love to hear how you found this episode. My website is carinatalla.com for anyone wanting to look at my services or working with me. I have free discovery calls. So if you're struggling at the moment, you're really needing some help and support, then best way to reach me is a free discovery call through my website.
Beautiful. Thank you so much again for joining me today. And it was an absolute pleasure having you on.
Thank you so much.
As we draw this episode to a close, I want to extend my greatest gratitude to our listeners for joining us on this exploration. Remember, the journey of awakening is ongoing, and I invite you to continue seeking truth and understanding in your own unique way. For more information and resources, be sure to visit my website at tiffany-clark.com. Until next time, may your minds be awakened and your spirits be inspired. This is Tiffany signing off with Awakened Minds. Stay curious, stay mindful, and allow your soul to shine.